The casino trail. That first night on the ship, I couldn't sleep. The sound of the ocean was supposed to be calming. But to me it felt like a heartbeat, steady, relentless, reminding me I was trapped on a floating cage of glass and secrets. Every time the waves hit the hull, I imagined Andrew's voice whispering, "Once she's out at sea." I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking, why? Why would my son, my only child, want me gone? What could drive someone to turn against the person who gave them life? By sunrise, I knew the answer had to be money. With Andrew, it was always money. At breakfast, I forced myself to smile, to play the role of the cheerful retiree on vacation. But every polite conversation, every happy couple, every clinking glass around me felt like static, meaningless noise over a quiet, burning question. If I was going to survive this, I needed proof. I needed to know how deep my son's debts ran. So that afternoon, I went exploring, not for views or souvenirs, but for answers. The cruise had a casino, tucked between the theater and the main lounge. From the outside it looked harmless, polished brass, velvet carpets, a low hum of laughter and music. But once I stepped inside, I felt something colder hiding beneath all that glamour, desperation. People were losing themselves behind those slot machines, men in suits, women in glittering dresses, the kind of people who smiled while sinking. I sat at a corner table near the bar, pretending to rest, and just watched. The dealers dealt cards with mechanical precision, their faces blank masks. Chips clinked, glasses chimed, but what caught my attention wasn't the noise, it was the look in their eyes. That quiet panic, that hollow joy when they won just enough to keep playing. That's when I saw him. Not Andrew, but a man who looked like him. Same haircut, same restless energy, same quick smile that doesn't reach the eyes. He was arguing on the phone near the cashier, voice low but angry. "No, I told you, I'll have it by Friday. I'm on the ship now. I just need a few more days." He slammed the phone down and ran a trembling hand through his hair before placing another reckless bet. I watched the dice roll, watched him lose, watched him double down. That man wasn't my son, but he could have been. And in that moment, I saw Andrew's whole life play out right there on that green felt table. The greed, the charm, the recklessness dressed as confidence. Back in my cabin, I opened my purse and stared at the envelope of cruise documents Andrew had given me. The agency's logo was printed in gold foil, Golden Shore Travel. I typed it into the ship's computer at the library and pulled up their public contact number. Then I typed Andrew Parker into the search bar, and there it was. A customer complaint record. Unpaid balance, multiple declined cards, a flagged note from the bank. Client has exceeded credit limit on 2 accounts. High risk profile. My hands started shaking. I leaned back in the chair, heart thudding. So it was true. He wasn't just careless, he was drowning. He didn't need me to die because he hated me. He needed me to die because it was the only way he could live. When I returned to my cabin, the sun was setting, a bleeding red line against the horizon. The air smelled of salt and expensive perfume. Somewhere above me, music was starting for the evening show, but I couldn't hear it anymore. Andrew's debts weren't numbers on a screen. They were countdowns. And the clock was ticking toward me. The watcher on deck. The third day, the ocean was calmer, but my nerves weren't. The ship glided through the Caribbean like a quiet beast. Beautiful on the outside, dangerous underneath. The more distance we put between the shore and me, the more I felt like I was being swallowed whole. That morning, I forced myself to walk the upper deck. I needed air, needed to remind myself that I was still in control, still one step ahead of Andrew's plan. I told myself I was being paranoid, that maybe everything I'd found, the one-way ticket, the unpaid credit cards, didn't really add up to murder. But instincts don't lie. Mothers know when they're being watched. I noticed him near the pool first, a man in his 40s. Tan skin, dark hair, wearing a green shirt and long trousers, which already seemed strange under the Caribbean sun. Everyone else was in shorts, swimsuits, or sundresses, but he stood there, still, his eyes hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Maybe he was waiting for someone. Maybe I was imagining things. But when I turned toward the bar to order lemonade, I saw the reflection in the glass. He had turned too. Always facing me. Always watching. Everywhere I went, he kept the same distance. Cafe, hallway, gift shop. He'd pause, pretend to read a brochure, or stare at the horizon like some bored passenger. But every time I caught a glimpse, those sunglasses were angled in my direction. By noon, my pulse was so loud I could hear it in my ears. So I decided to test him. I walked toward the elevators, pretending to check my phone. When the doors opened, I stepped in, and in the mirror inside, I saw him get up from his chair and head straight toward me. The doors closed before he could enter, but I could feel his presence even as the elevator rose. When I reached my floor, I didn't go to my cabin. Instead, I slipped into the emergency stairwell and waited. The air in there was cold, metallic, smelling of paint and salt. I counted the seconds. 10, 20, 30. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming up the stairs. My throat went dry. I pressed my back to the wall, holding my breath. Through the small glass window in the stairwell door, I saw him step into the hallway, the same green shirt. The same sunglasses. He looked left and right, then started walking toward my cabin. That's when I knew. Andrew wasn't trusting fate anymore. He'd sent someone to finish the job. I waited until he disappeared around the corner, then slipped down the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't stop until I reached the 12th deck, the public lounge. Crowded and noisy, safe. I ordered a cup of tea just to keep my hands busy. But even surrounded by people, I couldn't shake the feeling that the air behind me was moving wrong, that somewhere out there, those mirrored lenses were still searching for me. That night, I met Carol, a woman about my age sitting alone at a table near the window. Silver hair, red dress, the kind of confidence that comes from surviving too much. She looked up, smiled, and said, "You look like you could use company." I smiled back, the kind of smile that hides exhaustion. You have no idea. We talked for an hour, two strangers pretending to be tourists, both sensing the other wasn't telling the whole truth. There was something sharp in Carol's eyes, the kind of woman who doesn't get fooled twice. Before we parted ways, she said softly, "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm in cabin 1247. Don't let the sea fool you, Evelyn. It hides more than it shows." That night, as I lay awake listening to the endless hum of the ship's engines, I realized she was right. The sea doesn't lie, it just waits. And so would I. The Trap, Gala Night on Deck 8. By the fourth night, the Caribbean dream felt smaller. I knew every hallway, every turn, every polished mirror, and in each reflection, I could see one truth staring back. I was being hunted. Carol had become my only ally. We'd been meeting quietly, early breakfasts, late dinners in her suite, whispering like schoolgirls plotting mischief. Only this time, it wasn't mischief, it was survival. She was sharper than she looked. "You're not just fighting a man, Evelyn," she told me. "You're fighting a plan, so let's make it backfire." That's how the trap began. Tomorrow night was the captain's gala, the most glamorous evening of the cruise. Every passenger would be in the main hall on Deck 8, dressed to the nines, dancing under chandeliers. It would also be the perfect time for someone to sneak into my cabin unseen. Exactly what we needed. We went straight to Captain Harrison that morning, calm, professional, our voices steady even when our hands trembled. Carol laid everything out. The man in the green shirt. The one-way ticket. The phone conversations, the tracking. The captain listened in silence, his jaw tightening with every word. When we finished, he said, "Mrs. Parker, I've been at sea for 20 years. Greed does things to people you wouldn't believe. We'll handle this." He promised security would monitor my cabin during the gala. Hidden cameras, plainclothes guards in the hall. And one panic button, small enough to fit in my palm. That night, I dressed for war. Emerald green silk, pearl earrings, hair pinned just so. To anyone watching, I was just another proud mother enjoying her vacation. But inside, I felt like a blade, quiet, sharp, waiting. Carol met me at the entrance to the ballroom. "Ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be." Music swelled, violins, laughter, the sound of champagne corks. Couples spun across the floor as if nothing dark could ever touch this place. But I couldn't feel the music. I was counting minutes. Waiting, listening for the part of the plan I couldn't see. At 11:30, I nodded to Carol and slipped away, pretending to be tired. The elevator hummed softly as it carried me down to deck 8. I walked toward my cabin, and then turned into the emergency stairwell where the air smelled like paint and salt. Carol joined me 5 minutes later, her heels silent against the metal steps. We watched through the narrow glass window in the door. The hallway was empty, for a while. Then, at 12:14, movement. The man in the green shirt, now dressed in black, gloves, a flashlight, something heavy in his hand. He moved like a shadow toward my door. He took something from his pocket, lock picks, and started working on the door handle. Carol touched my arm, whispering, "Now." I pressed the panic device. A faint red blink, the signal sent. Seconds later, the door opened, the man slipped inside, flashlight beam cutting through the dark. 3 long minutes passed. My pulse was louder than the engines below. Then he stepped out again, phone in hand, whispering something into it. I leaned closer to the glass, just enough to see his mouth move. "Balcony, after the gala, she'll fall." Before I could breathe, shadows emerged at both ends of the hallway. 2, 3, 4 men, ship security, moving fast. The man turned, startled, but it was too late. He tried to run, but the captain himself was there, stepping out from behind a corner. "Sir," Harrison's voice boomed, steady as steel, "this ship is under my command, and you are under arrest." The man froze, then dropped the phone. And I saw it, Andrew's name on the screen. A text still open. "Make it look like an accident. No struggle. Tonight." I didn't cry. I didn't even move. I just watched as they cuffed him. As the reality of his plan finally became physical, alive, breathing, caught. When the captain turned toward me, I stepped out from the stairwell. "Mrs. Parker," he said softly, "you're safe now." I looked at the man, his head bowed, his eyes empty. "He thought I'd be easy." I said. "He thought wrong." That night, for the first time since this nightmare began, I slept. Not peacefully, not yet, but without fear. And when I closed my eyes, I didn't see the ocean swallowing me anymore. I saw justice waiting on the shore. The aftermath, the call and the arrest. When dawn broke, the Caribbean Sea was the color of mercy, pale gold melting into blue. The kind of morning that makes people believe in peace. But peace, I'd learned, doesn't come from calm water. It comes from knowing the storm has passed, and you're still standing. The man in the green shirt had confessed before sunrise. He didn't even fight it. The cameras, the messages, the phone, it was all there. He said Andrew had promised him $15,000. Just make it look like an accident. My son had told him. "She's old, she trips sometimes. No one will dig too deep." That was my legacy to him, the image of fragility, the perfect disguise he built his crime on. Captain Harrison told me they'd already contacted the mainland authorities. The FBI would be waiting when we docked in Miami. But before that, there was one call I had to make. I sat on the edge of my bed, hands trembling over the phone. My reflection in the cabin mirror looked like someone else, older, harder, but alive. When Andrew's voice came through, it was smooth, calm, the same tone he used to ask for favors. "Hey, Mom, how's the cruise? You sound tired." Tired. That word almost made me laugh. "I am tired, Andrew," I said quietly, "tired of pretending, tired of being the woman you think can't see what's right in front of her." A pause. "What do you mean?" "You hired someone," I said. "You paid him to make sure I never came home." Silence. Then a shaky laugh. "Mom, what are you talking about? That's insane." I pressed the speakerphone button and held it up. His voice, the recording security had taken from the hitman's phone, echoed in the room. "Make it look like an accident. No struggle. Tonight." For the first time in years, Andrew had no words. All I heard was his breath, sharp, uneven, like the sound of a mask breaking. "You taught me something once," I said softly. "You said people only lie when they think the truth won't reach them. Well, the truth found you, Andrew, and it's on its way." He tried to speak, some mix of apology and panic, but I hung up before he could finish. Some goodbyes don't need words. 2 days later, when the ship docked, the air smelled like gasoline and rain. Reporters swarmed the pier, cameras flashed. I walked down the ramp flanked by 2 officers, my shoulders straight, my eyes dry. Across the crowd, I saw Andrew in handcuffs, head bowed, still in that same gray suit he thought made him look successful. For a moment, the world went quiet, just me, him, and all the years between us. He looked up, his mouth forming the word, "Mom." And I simply nodded. Not with anger. Not even with pity. Just with understanding, the kind that arrives too late to save anyone. They led him away, and the ocean wind caught the edge of my scarf. It fluttered like a flag, not of surrender, but survival. People think justice feels like victory. It doesn't. It feels like breathing after nearly drowning. When I turned to board the police van, Carol was there, waiting by the railing, her red dress bright against the morning light. She smiled faintly and said, "Told you the sea hides things. Glad we found what it took." I smiled back. "Yeah," I whispered, "and maybe now it can keep its peace." As the ship faded behind me, I thought of all the years I'd spent loving a boy who grew into a stranger. And I decided something right then: I would never apologize for surviving. Not to anyone. Epilogue: The Quiet Shore. It's been 3 months since the cruise. Sometimes, when I walk by the shore near my little house in Naples, I can still hear the sound of that ship, the faint hum of its engines, the music drifting through open decks, the echo of my own heartbeat in the dark. The ocean hasn't changed. It still moves the way it always did, endless, patient, pretending to forget. I haven't. But I've learned how to live beside the memory without drowning in it. They called me the miracle mother on the news. Elderly woman uncovers murder plot. People love a headline. They love to say I'm strong, brave, lucky. But the truth is quieter than that. I'm just a woman who finally stopped mistaking silence for peace. The investigators said Andrew will be in prison for a long time. They asked if I wanted to make a statement, to tell the court how it felt. I told them I had nothing left to say. What could I tell a room full of strangers that I hadn't already told the sea? I didn't visit him. Not because I wanted revenge. Because sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone who's lost their soul is stop looking for it. These days, my life is small, but mine. I wake up before sunrise. I make coffee strong enough to remind me I'm alive. I volunteer twice a week at a women's shelter downtown, helping others find the kind of strength I once forgot I had. And when people ask me about forgiveness, I just smile. Forgiveness isn't a door you open for someone else. It's a window you open for yourself, to finally let the air in. One evening, Carol came to visit. We sat by the water, our reflections trembling in the tide. She raised her glass and said, "To survival." I lifted mine and replied, "To never letting fear write the last page." The sun sank slowly, painting the sea in gold and fire. For the first time in years, I felt light, not happy, just honest. And maybe that's what freedom really is, not forgetting, but no longer flinching when you remember. So here's what I've learned. You can lose almost everything and still keep your dignity. You can be betrayed, broken, and left for dead, and still walk home stronger than before. But tell me, if it were you, would you forgive? Or would you just begin again? If you were in Evelyn's place, would you forgive? Or would you walk away for good? Share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories where survival speaks louder than revenge. My name is Evelyn Parker, and I'm 64 years old. The morning my son, Andrew, handed me 2 glossy tickets for the Caribbean Dream Cruise out of Miami, I felt my eyes sting with tears I didn't even try to hide. He said it was time for me to relax, to finally live a little after all the sacrifices I'd made. His smile was gentle, rehearsed, the kind that could melt any mother's heart. For a moment, I believed him. For a moment, I thought maybe love had circled back after all those years of distance and silence. But love doesn't usually come wrapped in gold envelopes. And sometimes, when people smile too much, it's because they're hiding the sharpest thing behind their teeth. I should have known, my instincts whispered, but I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was just tired. That maybe my son truly wanted to make me happy. Mothers lie to themselves all the time. It's how we survive the heartbreaks our children never see. The day I was supposed to leave, I'd already called the taxi when I realized I'd forgotten my blood pressure medication. I hurried back into the house, quiet as a breath, hoping to grab the pills and get out before Andrew came by. But when I opened the door, I heard his voice, low, calm, too calm. He was on the phone. "Don't worry, Claire," he said, "it's a one-way ticket. Once she's out at sea, it'll be easy to make it look like an accident. No one's going to ask questions about an old woman who falls overboard." For a few seconds, I didn't feel anything, just the air in my lungs turning to glass. Every sound in the world pulled away until it was only his voice and that sentence echoing in my bones. The son I had loved. The boy I had worked double shifts for. The reason I had given up every piece of my own life, was planning my death like a business transaction. I stood behind that door and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply listened, and in that silence, something inside me shifted. The woman Andrew thought he knew, the tired, soft, helpless mother, died right there. What was left was someone older, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. If that was how he wanted it, then fine. We'd play by his rules. But he was going to regret it, 3 times over. The one-way ticket. I left the house that morning pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. The taxi driver talked about the weather. About how lucky I was to be going on a Caribbean cruise. And I smiled like I was still the same woman from yesterday. But inside, I was already making plans. By the time I reached the port, my hands were trembling, not from fear, but from calculation. The Caribbean Dream Cruise looked like a floating palace. Bright white against the blue sky. Music drifting through the air. Families were taking pictures. Couples were kissing. Children were laughing. I must have looked like one of them. Another excited passenger ready to escape real life for a week. Only I wasn't escaping anything. I was walking straight into a crime scene. When I handed over my documents at the check-in desk, the attendant, a young woman with a sunshine smile, looked up and said, First time on a cruise. Mrs. Parker? Yes, I replied softly, keeping my voice sweet and fragile. The way people expect women my age to sound. My son gave me this trip. He says I need to relax. She chuckled. That's so thoughtful of him. He must love you very much. If only you knew, I thought. If only you knew how much love can cost when it's built on lies. As she printed my boarding pass, I caught a glimpse of the reservation screen on her monitor. Just a flash of text. But enough to freeze the blood in my veins. The words, "one-way itinerary," glowed back at me for half a second before she clicked away. One way? I asked, forcing a shaky smile. Yes, ma'am, she said without thinking. It looks like your return flight will be arranged separately. But don't worry, that's common for. Thank you, I interrupted quickly, before she could see my face. My heart was pounding so loud I thought she might hear it. A one-way ticket, just like he'd said. The plan wasn't a lie. It was already in motion. When I boarded the ship, the ocean wind hit my face, warm, sharp, alive, and for a brief moment I thought of turning back, of running straight to the police. But then I remembered how Andrew used to smile when he needed money. How he'd call me, Mom, in that soft voice that felt like a trick. I remembered every sleepless night spent sewing clothes to pay for his education. Every time I believed him when he said, "I'll pay you back one day." No. I wasn't running. Not yet. I would play the part of the grateful mother, the perfect victim, and while he thought I was out here enjoying my vacation, I'd be building my own case, piece by piece. Because the moment that check-in clerk said, "one way," I knew exactly how far my son had gone. He didn't just want my money. He wanted me gone forever. And I wasn't about to give him that satisfaction.